The cool thing about the Raspberry Pi is its flexibility. It's powerful enough to just do like web browsing and stuff like that. Or you could use the GPIO pins to power all kinds of projects. But the trouble is, it's always got to be plugged into a USB cable. And what happens when your project needs to be mobile? Hi, my name is Luke, and we're at Computer Club. Today we're going to be talking about the RetroPSU from Helder Game Tech, which lets you power your Raspberry Pi project with a battery. In full disclosure, I reached out to Helder, the designer of the RetroPSU, and he did send me this one for review, but the opinions you're going to be hearing are entirely my own. I'm trying to design my own retro gaming handheld, like a Nintendo Switch, but worse. And while I was researching parts to use, it seemed like everyone kept saying that you couldn't power a Raspberry Pi 4 off of a battery because it consumed too much current. All I kept getting were supplies that worked with the Pi 3 and the Pi 0. One thing people were doing is using battery power banks for charging USB devices. They work, but they're just all really big, and I'm trying to make a handheld device, so I needed something a lot more compact. Eventually I came across a post on Reddit where some guy had made his own handheld using a Pi 4, and he was using a RetroPSU from Helder Game Tech. What we're looking at today is the newest version that is designed specifically to meet the high current demands of single board computers like the Raspberry Pi 4. It takes a 3.7 volt battery input and boosts it up to the 5 volts required to power the Pi. You can recharge your battery using the USB Type-C input, and it includes all of the battery protection circuits that you're going to need. The board is pretty small too. It's 34.4 by 34.8 millimeters, so it will be easier to incorporate into my handheld design. It's breadboard friendly with through-hole connections, which is good for me because I'm not very good at surface mount soldering. The board also includes an analog to digital chip that lets you read the current battery voltage over I2C. You can even use the extra pins on the ADC to read an analog joystick for game control. In my case, I won't need that because I'm using Joy-Cons, but pretty cool, maybe in the future. My original plan was to use two 18650 batteries taken from an old laptop battery, but in order to have something to test with right away, I ordered one of his 4,500 milliamp hour battery packs. One important note: if, like me, you just start plugging things in without paying attention to labels, the JST connector on the battery and on the board had inverted polarities. So I plugged that in. I tried charging it for a bit. I was trying to figure out what was going on, and it didn't work. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I did see something on his website in like big bold text about polarities, but I didn't really read it. So what I did was I pulled the little connectors out of the JST connector, spun them, plugged it back in, and it all seems to work fine. I was able to charge and I was able to power the device. Luckily, I didn't wreck mine, but if you order one, make sure you pay attention to battery polarities. First, I charged up the battery. There's some helpful indicators to let you know when it's charging and when it's done charging. When I measured, the charging voltage was around 4.2 volts, and it stopped charging the battery when it got there. When it was done, I hooked it up to my Pi 4 and the 5-inch WaveShare LCD. I hooked everything up with these little grabber leads because I don't want to solder anything until I know what my final layout is going to be. Anyway, I plugged it all in and it came to life. The best part is that there was no little lightning bolt in the corner, so everything was a-okay current-wise. The output voltage was 5.1 volts, and I tried to measure the current with my voltmeter, but it must have been affecting the circuit, because once I was running it through the voltmeter, I was getting the little lightning bolt icon. I tried a battery rundown test to see how long I could expect to be able to play games with this setup. I let it run on Super Mario World for about 2 hours, and then I had to interrupt the test. I started it up again the next day and ran it on Yoshi's Island for another 45 minutes or so. Starting and stopping it like that is probably kind of representative of how I would actually use it in real life anyways. So 2 hours, 45 minutes, that's pretty good. I would never really play more than like maybe an hour at a time anyways. When the battery voltage went down under 2.5 volts, the power supply cut off and it was time to recharge. I'm still in the design phase of my project, so I can't really comment on the long-term reliability of the board. And given that I am a software guy, I'm probably not the right person to comment on that anyways. But I do work at an electronics company, and I grabbed Craig, the hardware guy, and got him to look at it. And he said the layout and the manufacturing looked pretty good. So that's a positive. Overall, I think the RetroPSU is going to work really well for my project. If you think it would work well for your project, you can go to heldergametech.com and order one for yourself. Just keep in mind that it looks like this is like a one-man operation, so availability might, be in small batches or something like that. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I really appreciated all of the positive comments you left on my first video, so I'm going to keep going. I've got some more videos planned on other topics than Raspberry Pis. One in particular, I'm going to try to fix a Radeon 9800 GPU for my Windows 98 gaming PC. And I've got more parts in for my Raspberry Pi project. Although I may need a new Pi because I think I broke this one. I was trying to take off parts to slim it down, and then when I was hooking it up for this video, it doesn't seem to read the SD card. So I won't make a video about slimming a Pi down. There are other videos I would recommend because I may have trashed mine. Anyways, talk to you later.